Is the war in Ukraine on the verge of an irreversible turning point? Or are we witnessing yet another mirage, carefully crafted in the echo chambers of digital propaganda? The question is not just academic. It could change the fates of millions, redraw borders, and send shockwaves through economies and alliances around the world. In recent days, global news outlets and social media feeds have been flooded with reports of mass surrenders and sweeping Russian advances. Videos circulate showing white surrender flags fluttering above deserted trenches, lines of disarmed Ukrainian fighters waiting under gray skies, and burned-out convoys scattered along muddy roads. These images are seared onto the public consciousness, but as the flow of claims and counterclaims intensifies, the lines between truth and fiction blur. Both sides offer dramatically different accounts. Russian officials paint a picture of breakthrough victories, claiming that entire Ukrainian formations have either surrendered en masse or found themselves surrounded with no way out. Ukrainian leaders, on the other hand, describe these events as tactical withdrawals, deliberate, calculated moves to regroup or lure Russian forces into prepared ambushes, not signs of defeat or collapse. Verifying what is real is nearly impossible. The figures shared online, hundreds reportedly surrendering, thousands allegedly encircled, remain unconfirmed and sometimes contradictory. Independent analysts warn that what looks like a pivotal moment could just as easily be a fleeting shift, or worse, a sophisticated psychological operation designed to sway morale, both at home and abroad. The stakes could not be higher. For national leaders, a misreading of events could spark disastrous decisions, realign long-standing alliances, or even trigger dangerous escalations. For ordinary citizens across Europe and beyond, this fog of confusion obscures real threats, from soaring energy prices and economic shocks to questions of daily safety and stability. If this is truly a turning point in the war, it will do far more than redraw front lines. It could destabilize the balance of power in Europe, disrupt the lives of millions, and send ripples from boardrooms in Berlin to kitchens in Warsaw and beyond. But we must ask, is this the moment when history bends, or just another episode in an endless information war, where perception can matter as much as reality? To find answers, we must dig deeper than the headlines. We need to decode not only the visible battles, but also the hidden forces, technological leaps, psychological strategies, and shifting alliances that are now shaping the future of Ukraine, Europe, and perhaps the world. To understand what is really happening, we must examine the roots of this sudden shift and the new tools that are changing the very nature of modern warfare. Only then can we grasp what is truly at stake. Why does the fate of cities like Pokrovsk and Kramatorsk matter so much? And what deeper forces are at work in these battles? In recent days, the Eastern Front in Donbass, long described as static and frozen, has shifted in dramatic and alarming ways, drawing the attention of not only military strategists, but also anyone concerned with Europe's future. For many months, the lines barely budged. The region was a graveyard of hope and progress, with neither side able to gain significant ground. Now, however, stark images of white surrender flags, charred vehicles, and obliterated supply convoys signal a dramatic turning point unfolding before our eyes. Pokrovsk is not just a dot on the map. It serves as a vital artery of Ukrainian defense in this sector. Whoever controls Pokrovsk gains access to Kramatorsk and, beyond that, the gateway to the entire southern Donbass. If Russian forces take this city, they could sever Ukrainian supply lines, trap defending units, and project power deep into Ukrainian-held territory. The significance of Pokrovsk can be compared to other critical battles in military history. Consider the city of Stalingrad during the Second World War, or the battle for Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge. In each case, the control of a single city or transportation hub determined the fate of entire campaigns and altered the course of larger conflicts. What happens in Pokrovsk could echo in history with the same resonance. The Donbass region itself has become a graveyard for armies over the past several years. Its scarred landscape is crisscrossed by trenches, littered with ruined towns and haunted by the memories of battles for places like Bakhmut, Soledar, and Severodonetsk. Each new offensive, no matter how minor, rekindles memories of brutal, grinding attrition, where progress is measured in meters, not kilometers, and every village or crossroads is paid for in blood. But this time, there is a crucial difference in the method of warfare. Russia's latest advances have not been achieved by sheer force of numbers alone. Instead, they are the product of months of amassing drones, perfecting artillery strikes, and experimenting with new battlefield tactics. Swarms of inexpensive, lethal drones now hunt for Ukrainian positions, relaying coordinates in real time. Precision barrages grind down defenders' morale and supplies, making every position feel exposed and vulnerable. For Ukrainian forces, the pressure mounts daily. Russian encirclement tactics are growing more refined, employing deceptive maneuvers and coordinated assaults on supply lines. The loss of every road, depot, or bridge tightens the noose, not just physically, but psychologically. Soldiers are forced to watch their lifelines fray, with the looming risk of isolation and encirclement growing ever larger. To ignore the strategic value of these cities is to miss how rapidly the balance of power could tilt. What happens here will resonate far beyond Donbass, affecting not only military outcomes, but also energy prices, economic security, and the political stability of Europe itself. This is not just another episode in a long war, but perhaps the opening act of a new chapter, defined by technological innovation, resilience, and shifting alliances. Understanding the gravity of the current moment requires us to look beyond maps and headlines. The real story lies in how both sides adapt, their changing tools, tactics, and the depth of their resolve. But these are only the surface factors. To grasp what is truly at stake, we must delve into the hidden dimensions, psychological, technological, and geopolitical, that are now driving this conflict. What if the true battlefield is no longer measured solely in territory, but also in stories, and the technologies that shape and spread them? On the Eastern Front, Russian forces have unleashed waves of advanced drones, precision strike munitions, and relentless electronic warfare. Their objective is not simply to break through Ukrainian lines with brute force, but to dominate invisible domains, signals, sensors, and code. This is not the war of the 20th century, with rows of tanks and massed infantry charges. Here, the side with the fastest adaptation, the best software, and the sharpest eyes in the sky can punch holes in defenses before a single shell is ever fired. Ukraine, for its part, leans heavily on Western hardware and a culture of relentless improvisation. Yet even the best equipment can run low. Shortages in ammunition, strained logistics, and the constant need to jury-rig battlefield solutions force Ukrainian defenders into tough decisions. Hold this position, abandon that one, or risk being cut off entirely. The margin for error shrinks with every passing hour. The stark reality is written not just in casualty reports, but in production lines and supply chains. Russia, by some estimates, now produces more artillery shells than all of its European NATO adversaries combined. This industrial advantage transforms set-piece battles into risky gambles for Ukrainian commanders, pushing them toward hit-and-run tactics, rapid redeployment, and the constant search for new sources of material. Control of the battlefield is determined as much by who can resupply fastest as by who shoots first. To illustrate, consider the First World War's infamous battles of Verdun and the Somme, where the side able to maintain a steady flow of shells and reinforcements could sustain offensives while their opponents withered. In Ukraine, the logistics war is just as critical. Every lost truck, every delayed train, can shift the momentum of an entire campaign. Yet the most consequential battles may be fought in silence, far from the mud and trenches. Both sides are waging relentless campaigns of propaganda, cyber attacks, and disinformation, aiming to seize the world's attention and shape the global narrative. Every video of surrender, every viral claim of victory or defeat, can shift international support, influence aid packages, and sway the political winds in distant capitals. In this new era of warfare, technological breakthroughs are fleeting. Drones, jammers, and smart munitions force both armies into a perpetual arms race, where every innovation is quickly countered, and nothing remains secret for long. The pace of adaptation is set by software updates and battlefield improvisation, making yesterday's edge today's baseline. Just as in the Second World War, when radar and code breaking tilted the balance of power, today's invisible tools are shaping outcomes in real time. To overlook these hidden contests of technology and narrative is to misunderstand where real power now lies. Counting only the miles gained or lost misses the deeper, quieter transformations that are redefining the conflict and its consequences. What comes next? The shockwaves of this technological and psychological struggle are poised to spread far beyond Ukraine's fields and cities. The world's response, and the stakes for Europe, are about to be tested in ways few are prepared for. What if these next 72 hours are only the first tremor in a much larger upheaval? The consequences could ripple from Kyiv to Berlin, from Warsaw to Washington, redrawing maps and upending long-held certainties. Analysts now see three main paths ahead. In the first scenario, Russian troops quickly consolidate their sudden advances, fortifying new positions and daring Ukraine to attempt a costly counteroffensive. The second path sees Moscow pushing further, gambling on speed and surprise to break Ukrainian will, but risking overextension and the possibility of opening dangerous gaps for Ukrainian counterattacks. The third scenario imagines Ukraine regrouping and striking back swiftly, retaking lost ground and seizing the narrative. Each possibility is fraught with peril, and none offers an easy route to stability. To better understand these paths, consider historical parallels. During the Korean War, sudden advances by North Korean forces in the summer of 1950 nearly led to the collapse of the South, until a daring counterattack at Incheon reversed the tide. In the Yom Kippur War, early Arab breakthroughs were blunted by Israeli resilience and rapid adaptation. In both cases, the fog of war and rapid shifts on the ground created moments of existential crisis, only to be followed by unexpected reversals. The stakes today are not confined to the battlefield. Every escalation shakes Europe's fragile energy markets. If fighting spreads or key infrastructure is threatened, oil and gas prices could soar once again, sending shockwaves through economies already on edge. For millions of people, this is not just about higher utility bills. It could mean layoffs, drained savings, and daily anxiety over heating, transportation, and basic needs. Diplomacy, meanwhile, has become a high-stakes chess match. Western capitals urge negotiations, even as they accelerate weapons deliveries. Moscow signals willingness to talk, but only on terms Kyiv finds unacceptable. So far, genuine compromise remains out of reach, and the window for de-escalation narrows with each passing day. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 offers a cautionary tale. When both sides refuse to back down, the world can find itself one miscalculation away from catastrophe. On the ground, the human toll grows heavier by the hour. War fatigue is spreading, not just among exhausted troops, but across communities forced to endure uncertainty, loss, and fear. As the conflict drags on, psychological endurance may prove just as important as drones or artillery. In this war of nerves, morale and perception could tip the balance as much as firepower. Beyond the immediate conflict, global powers are recalibrating their strategies. China, the United States, NATO, and others are watching closely, preparing to adjust their own approaches depending on whether this crisis becomes a rout, a drawn-out stalemate, or something even less predictable. Their next moves could reshape global alliances, alter the flow of aid, and redraw the architecture of international security for years to come. To see the significance of this, recall how the Suez Crisis of 1956 and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979 catalyzed shifts in global power structures, forcing nations to reconsider their alliances and security guarantees. The truth is inescapable. The consequences of the coming days, whichever side acts first, will cross every border. Energy prices, job security, and even daily safety are at stake for millions well beyond the front lines. The real question is not whether these choices will matter, but how deeply they will reshape lives across Europe and the world. But behind the maps and military briefings, a subtler battle is unfolding, one driven by technology and information. The next phase of this war may be decided as much in server rooms and news feeds as on the muddy roads of Donbass. In a war waged on screens as fiercely as on the ground, how can you stay informed without falling prey to manipulation? Start by looking beyond the headlines. Narratives that trend online, clips of surrender, dramatic advances, can be staged, selectively edited, or stripped of vital context. Before sharing or reacting, verify sources, seek out varied perspectives, and treat viral imagery with skepticism. A practical step is to consult independent fact-checking organizations, such as Bellingcat or the Associated Press Verification Team, which often debunk viral videos and provide crucial context. Another is to seek out long-form investigative reporting, which can cut through the noise and provide a more nuanced understanding of events. The war's reach extends far from the front lines. Ripples in energy prices, mounting inflation, and disruptions to supply chains may already be reshaping your daily life, even if you are thousands of kilometers from Ukraine. The uncertainty of this conflict is rewriting gas bills, job markets, and the cost of living across Europe and beyond. For example, in 2022, German households faced gas price hikes of up to 50%, while Polish factories saw their energy costs double, triggering layoffs and production slowdowns. War fatigue is a quiet, powerful force. When societies are bombarded by relentless grim news, many risk tuning out or falling into the traps of misinformation. True resilience means more than surviving hardship. It means staying vigilant, questioning sweeping claims, and resisting the temptation to disengage. Meanwhile, choices made now by political leaders and global corporations will echo for years. Decisions on energy policy, defense budgets, and international alliances are being made under immense pressure, with lasting consequences. If these choices escape public scrutiny, they may be shaped more by fear, profit, or propaganda than by genuine security needs. This is why supporting independent journalism and critical analysis is so important. Propaganda flourishes in silence and confusion. Honest reporting and open debate can cut through the noise, shine a light on power, and help ordinary people see what is truly at stake. Ignore these lessons, and the risks go far beyond misunderstanding the war. You could be blindsided by economic shocks, manipulated by sophisticated information warfare, or lulled into inaction as historic changes unfold behind a fog of spin. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 took many by surprise. Today, the tools of misdirection are even more powerful. The ultimate test is not only for soldiers or diplomats, it is for every one of us. Will we keep questioning, learning, and holding leaders accountable as this crisis deepens? A single viral image can shift public opinion or policy overnight. In this new phase, the information war is as real and consequential as any battle for territory. The role of the Internet in the Arab Spring, or the spread of misinformation during the COVID-19 pandemic, has shown how quickly narratives can change the course of events. The front line is no longer just a scar across the fields of eastern Ukraine. It cuts through our homes, our conversations, and our collective nerves. The true battle now rages inside our perceptions, testing our ability to hold on to truth amid a torrent of confusion. What began as a clash of armies has evolved. Drones, cyber attacks, and relentless information warfare have made the mind as much a target as the body. Each rumor, each viral image, is not just news, it is ammunition. The war is as much about what we believe as what we see on a map. If we let fatigue win or settle for simple answers, we risk surrendering something deeper than territory: our resilience, our autonomy, our trust in each other. Misinformation, fear, and exhaustion. These are weapons as potent as any shell or missile in the 21st century. Every headline and every manipulated story tugs at the fabric of our societies. The stakes climb with every surge of propaganda, whether it comes from Moscow, Kyiv, or beyond. The price of energy, the stability of our economies, even our sense of safety at home, all are bound to this conflict. But there is a defense that does not require uniforms or rifles. It starts with questioning our assumptions, seeking nuance, and refusing to be swept away by the loudest voices. In doing so, we build a shield no army can breach. A shield forged from reflection, engaged citizenship, and shared vigilance. The coming days will test more than military lines. They will challenge the bonds that hold Europe together, and the trust that gives our societies meaning. Now is the time to watch carefully, to question bravely, and to act, no matter how small the gesture may seem. So what concrete steps can you take? First, diversify your news sources. Seek out voices from multiple countries and backgrounds. Second, support quality journalism through subscriptions or donations. Third, engage in conversations with those who hold different viewpoints, striving to understand rather than to win. Fourth, hold your leaders accountable. Ask questions about policy, demand transparency, and participate in civic life. Because in the end, the outcome of this conflict will redraw not only borders, but the very shape of the world we share. Passivity is a choice. So is engagement. Which path will we take? The answer is not written yet, but as history shows, from the barricades of Berlin in 1989 to the digital revolutions of today, those who stay engaged, informed, and courageous can shape the future, even in the darkest of times.